Once again, Brazil does not disappoint. What's up, everybody? So, this is my review of O Agente Secreto, or in English, The Secret Agent, directed by Kleber Mendonça Filho, starring Wagner Moura, Golden Globe winning Wagner Moura. Most people know Wagner Moura from playing Pablo Escobar in the first two seasons of Narcos. But if you ask any Brazilian, this dude's been around for a long time. He's been paying his dues and delivering top notch performances for a very long time. And only recently has people in America discovered who he is and how incredible of an actor he is. Now, Agente Secreto is the story of a man named Armando who escapes to Recife during Carnival in 1977 uh, when Brazil was under the military dictatorship. And that plays a huge role in a lot of the tension of the movie. And he's escaping his past. He goes from Sao Paulo to Recife in order to try and escape the authorities. Now, overall, this is a great movie. It's typical of the kinds of Brazilian movies that reach this level of notoriety and recognition. Last year, it was Ainda Estou Aqui with Fernanda Torres, I'm Still Here. And this year, this is the film that's making its own stamp on the movie business. And the one similarity between the two is echoes of the past relating to the military dictatorship. Now, this deserves a little bit more attention because, I grew up in the States. And in the States, especially back in the times when I was growing up in the 80s and 90s, it was pretty normal to basically talk about or address issues of, the dark past of the United States of America. And it's been kind of given more of a spotlight in the last 10, 15 years or so, to its detriment, in my humble opinion. But it's not something that people have shied away from. Documentaries have been made about things like Watergate and the Vietnam War. I remember one documentary that they used to show constantly when I was in high school. I think it was called Eye on the Prize, which had to do with the civil rights movement and all of the important figures and the not so great moments that the American government played in the civil rights movement and even prior and after. Now, in Brazil, it's a little bit different. There is no extensive um, look and analysis of what happened during the military dictatorship. One of the things that I always talked about when I first moved here was like, I would love to see like a very deep dive documentary into what happened during that time. And anybody I'd ever asked, they would say, not really. So there's a lot that people don't know or hasn't been made public yet. And at least with movies like Ainda Estou Aqui and this O Agente Secreto, at least it starts to kind of peel away a little bit as to the emotion, what people felt during that time, what people had to deal with during that time. And hopefully it kind of helps resolve things. Wagner Moura has been very public about the, how trauma is passed down through generations, but also values as well. And the more light that gets shed upon this time period, the faster healing can begin. Now, as far as some of my criticisms of the movie, there's really only one, and it's a bit long. It's about 2 hours and 40 minutes. And I don't think it was really necessary to make it that long. I understand why the director made it that long. You understand the reason for it. However, I think it kind of takes away some of the impact because at a certain point, I'm asking myself, okay, when is this going to be over? When is this going to be resolved? You know, but as a narrative, especially Wagner Moura's performance, which is some of the most subtle and layered moments you will ever see from any actor in any movie. I'm gonna say it out loud right now. I'm definitely rooting for him. to not only be nominated for Best Actor at the Oscars, but to actually win. I don't know if American audiences are ready to do that yet, because the last time a foreign actor won in the acting category was, I believe, Roberto Benigni in A Beautiful Life back in the late 90s. So it's been a long time. But just like last year, I believe Fernando Torres was worthy and got robbed. And I think Wagner Moura as well is more than worthy when it comes to who the contenders are. George Clooney for Jay Kelly, Timothée Chalamet for Marty Supreme, and others. I think he's far and away the better performer. Um, the thing also that now the one highlight about this, even though it kind of drags a little bit, is the opening sequence. I mean, most of the people who have seen either the trailer or even some of the stills of the movie, some of the images, you see this image of Wagner Moura kind of leaning up against a gas pump. And that's the opening sequence of the movie, and it really kind of sets the tone as to the kind of tension that it was a reality for people living under a military dictatorship, needing to show evidence and of who they are and why they're there, and at any moment they can be taken away and disappeared, which did happen to people in those days. So you kind of see what Wagner Moura's character is gripping, is battling with, as far as staying underneath the radar. There's been a lot of people comparing this movie and One Battle After Another, because there's also kind of this underground network of people who are fighting against the system. Um, but while in One Battle After Another, there's kind of a lean towards the absurd and ridiculous with the humor, there's really an earnestness in trying to convey the seriousness of what people had to deal with during this time. And I think it was more appropriate and handled in this way. So I don't really see the comparison between the two. It's very surface what those comparisons are. But as a movie itself, and as the performances are just top notch, and if you are willing to go on that ride, even though it might seem like a bit of a drag at times, it is more than worth it. And it is, again, I put this movie right up there with Ainda Estou Aqui, with Cidade de Deus, and all of the other great, Central Brasil, all of these great movies that have gotten recognition from the Oscars in the past. This is right up there with them. And in some cases, I think it's even better. And hopefully Wagner Moura gets his due. Anyways, what about you guys? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Smash that like button, give me a follow, and I'll see you guys next time.